Assalamu alaikum, guys. See you again. I'm Nicole. This time, I want to fully examine a very famous legendary poem from my favorite poet, Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, a poem entitled, When I Die. Apart from trying to read it verse by verse, I will also try to explain my analysis. An analysis of the poem will include 1. Summary. 2. Meaning. 3. Detailed analysis. 4. Structures, literary devices. 5. Theme. 6. FAQs. So here's the first part. We'll start from number 1. Summary. When I Die by Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi meditates wholly upon eternity after the mortal death and the new dawn after the darkest night in life. In this poem, Rumi expresses his antithetical ideas and how he wants his loved ones to react after he passes away. He has a positive attitude throughout the poem, though he talks about his death. The poem contains many symbols that explain the speaker's thoughts on death. It is considered that death is nothing but an arriving at eternal love. For the speaker, death is a doorway to heaven and eternal life waiting behind the thin veil of oblivion. It helps one to be the closest with God. Besides, the poem reflects Islamic concepts and beliefs of eternal life. According to the speaker, death appears to be like a sunset, but actually it is the dawn. And straight to number 2, meaning. In When I Die, Rumi takes a religious approach to discuss the idea of death. The poem reflects his views about life and death. He agrees to the fact that one day he has to leave this world, but he also says that he will not miss this world. His positive attitude towards his death is commendable. He wants his loved ones to understand that death is not a full stop. Rather, it's a temporary comma on the way to eternal life with the everlasting love of God. The perishable body will die, but the immortal soul will live after death. And then, one must not fear anything, as they will be immortal and free. The idea of life is just to act within a limited time. But as one enters the afterlife, there will be no place, no time. Okay, now let's get to the number 3, the detailed analysis. I'll read it first, and then I'll explain after. We'll start from lines 1, 10. When I die, when my coffin is being taken out, you must never think I am missing this world. Don't shed any tears. Don't lament or feel sorry. I'm not falling into a monster's abyss. When I Die, written by Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, is about the poet's belief in the afterlife theory. He says that when he dies, and when his coffin is taken out, his followers, loved ones, must not think that he misses his earthly life. He makes it clear to readers that he is not frightened by the idea of death. Instead, he is fully prepared for it. The positive attitude of the poet can be felt throughout the poem as he spreads his hands wide to embrace death. Hence, it is clear that he is not going to miss this world after his death. Rumi possesses a strong-willed mind and a deeply dedicated soul to eternal love. This can be assumed by the way he tells his readers not to cry or feel sorry. He says that he is not going to suffer any pain after death. So no one has to cry or lament when he is no more. The last line indicates that he is a firm believer in God, and thus he knows the fact that death is just an end to his physical pains and sufferings. His soul can never descend into the monster's abyss, a metaphorical reference to hell. Next, lines 11, 21. When you see my corpse is being carried, don't cry for my leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm arriving at eternal love. When you leave me in the grave, don't don't say goodbye. Remember, a grave is only a curtain for the paradise behind. The concrete faith of the speaker and the fearless approach towards death originate from his spiritual integrity. He is deeply connected with God, and death brings him the closest to him. For this reason, he repeats, "Don't cry for my leaving," and continues to say that he is not leaving, but entering into the place of eternal love. His devotion is mirrored in his words. Besides, he does not fear the grave because he longs to experience the eternal love of God. In the next lines, Rumi goes on to say that when people leave his corpse in the grave, they must not say goodbye, as the grave is only a curtain. He uses the symbols of grave and curtain to indicate his thoughts related to death. The curtain shows the next door, which opens up to paradise. Whoever crosses the first door, life, can have the chance to pass through the next one, death, that leads straight to heaven. The use of symbolism shows Rumi's intellectual ability to portray death in a positive light. And then, lines 22, 32. You'll only see me descending into a grave. Now watch me rise. How can there be an end when the sun sets or the moon goes down? It looks like the end, it seems like a sunset, but in reality is a dawn. When the grave locks you up, that is when your soul is freed. In When I Die, Rumi anticipates each step of his funeral ceremony. After leaving him in his grave, his loved ones can only see him descending. In contrast, he tells them to watch him rise. He descended just for a fraction of seconds. He will rise again with new vigor and with the holy attire of spiritual purity. Furthermore, Rumi metaphorically says that one cannot say death is an end. As the moon goes down, the sun takes its place. Just like that, there is no ending to the soul. When the body dies, the soul rises to heaven. The poet's extensive use of symbolism is seen throughout the poem. He symbolizes death as the setting sun. Death may appear to be an end of life and seem like an ultimate end, but it is just the beginning, like the dawn spreading a new light in the early morning sky, composing a prelude to the sunrise. The speaker continues to say that when the body is locked up in the grave, the soul becomes free. This statement is paradoxical. It means that the moment humans die, their souls become free to step outside of their bodies and fly to heaven. This is lines 33, 43. Have you ever seen a seed fall into earth, not rise with a new life? Why should you doubt the rise of a seed named human? Have you ever seen a bucket lowered into a well coming back empty? Why lament for a soul when it can come back, like Joseph, from the well? In these lines, the speaker talks about a seed falling to earth and growing back as a new plant. He metaphorically compares a seed to human life. Just as a seed, the body falls to the ground of death, and the soul rises into a new life as a shoot. The soul never dies. As the body dies, the soul is freed. In this way, the belief in rebirth and regeneration is expressed through the poem. Rumi establishes contact with readers by directly asking some rhetorical questions. He also provides the answers implicitly. In the next stanza, he asks whether any bucket came back empty after lowering it to a well. The well symbolizes death, and the bucket is a metaphor for life. In the last line, he alludes to a character of the Quran, Prophet Joseph, who was thrown into a well by his brothers because of envy. Later, Joseph was sold to some travelers of Egypt, and eventually he rose to become the king of Israel. As the prophet, by the grace of God, rose to power after descending into the well, the speaker will also rise to heaven after his death. And the last, lines 44, 48. When, for the last time, you close your mouth, your words and soul will belong to the world of no place, no time. Rumi concludes the poem, When I Die, by saying that when his life ends, his words will become immortal. His soul will belong to no specific place. It will be part of the divine scheme. The concept of eternity has no limitations, nor can any place bind its expanse. When the body is separated from the soul becomes eternal. Then there is no more fear of dying. In this way, the poet reassures readers not to be frightened of death, as it's just another beginning, not the ultimate end. We're back to the main analyses is the number 4, structures literary devices. The poem consists of 9 stanzas, out of which 3 stanzas are sestets, and the rest of the stanzas are quintets. It is written in both first-person point of view I and addressed to a second-person you in several places. There are short lines with no punctuations in between. The speaker is the poet himself, and he establishes a direct connection with readers with the frequent use of rhetorical questions. From the beginning till the end, his tone in the poem is positive and calm. Besides, the poem is written in the free verse form. Thus, it follows no rhyming pattern. As the poet talks about death, he finds it unnecessary to rhyme the words. In When I Die, Rumi uses a number of literary devices that include anaphora. Rumi uses the same words at the beginning of consecutive lines as seen in the first 2 lines of stanza 1. When I die / when my coffin, and in the first 2 lines of stanza 2, don't shed any tears / don't lament, or repetition. The poet repeats the same words or phrases to highlight his ideas. This can be seen in the lines. It looks like the end / it seems like a sunset. It also occurs in the starting lines of the 7th and 8th stanzas. Have you ever seen? Enjambment. It occurs throughout the poem as there are no punctuations between the lines. The lines that begin with small letters indicate continuity. For instance, when I die / when my coffin / is being taken out / you must never think / I am missing this world. Simile. The speaker compares death to various ideas. He uses like to compare it to an end and sunset in the following lines. It looks like the end / it seems like a sunset. Rhetorical question. The poem contains a number of rhetorical questions, such as, how can there be an end / when the sun sets, or why should you doubt the rise / of a seed named human, etc. Juxtaposition. The poet uses contrasting ideas to feature his outlook on death, as evident in the lines, I'm not leaving / I'm arriving at eternal love. Personification. The grave is attributed with human traits in the lines. When the grave locks you up, / that is when your soul is freed. Allusion. Rumi introduces the character of Joseph from the Quran, also seen in the Bible, who was thrown to a well by his brothers, sold to travelers, and ended up becoming the king of Israel. All right, we still have a number 5 is theme. The central theme of the poem, When I Die, is death and the afterlife. Rumi beautifully describes this theme and makes his readers feel that the inevitable death cannot put an end to the immortal soul. death helps one's soul to arrive at eternal love. He hints at the fact that every human is made of mud, and to mud they shall return. That is, however, not the end. The eternal paradise waits behind the curtain of the grave. In this way, Rumi advises readers not to be afraid of dying. By using the word remember, he reminds readers that the mortal body is assigned to die one day, but like the fallen seed, the soul rises from the grave to set on its journey to paradise. And now, here's the last point. Number 6, FAQs. The question is, what is the poem When I Die about? In When I Die, Rumi explores his ideas on life after death, which is compared to a curtain for the paradise behind. This poem is about the immortality of the soul, the inevitability of death, and the new life after physical death. Rumi uses symbolism to express his views of death and the afterlife. He keeps a positive attitude throughout the poem, though he talks about his own death. What is the main theme of When I Die? This poem taps on the themes of death, the afterlife, the immortality of the soul, and life. Throughout the poem, Rumi emphasizes his ideas about death and how it is a new beginning for the soul. The demise of the body is inevitable, and so is the existence of eternity after death. He compares the soul to a seed that has fallen to the earth, and it will rise again. That's all, guys. I hope you are entertained by my analysis and explanation. I apologize if there are still many shortcomings. In the end, I would like to say thank you very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe, or you can write your comment below. Okay, see you again. Assalamu alaikum.